It's sort of like a major, it's like a 7
major.
chord.
So here's the one. Here's the 5 chord. And then here's the 4 chord. You know,
Yeah, right. We were looking at it last rehearsal. Like,
oh man, so easy. So let's see, D minor. D minor is 1. But see, now it gets kind of weird. So this would be...
Because there's no, like, minor 7.
Yeah, so this is the 4.
Yeah.
And then this would be 5. Yeah. So D minor.
What if you need that?
But so for this, it's cool because it's an E, right? It's an E minor 6. Look at that. We got it all on one.
Like those 6 chords.
How are you?
I feel like you're gonna get really good at this. Yeah. In like a short amount of time.
All of a sudden, she's just like the
Low
first
in,
chick
yeah.
with constant. He needs a first chick.
No, he doesn't. He knows so many people. My friend used to be a studio manager as technical assistant, so if I had done this
Buddy of mine lives here.
Remote control. Apparently he had on Zimmer he spent like no exaggeration like millions of dollars collecting like the largest synthesizer. Yeah, and his sample library he spent millions of dollars collecting samples. See, I have such respect for it. I mean a lot of I so Yeah.
Ktima Tova, everyone. Good evening. I'm Rabbi Joel Nickerson.
I'm Cantor Lisa Peicott.
It's wonderful to have you here with us. We tried to set a little bit of a scene with this room to really set the stage for this evening. But before we get into the service, we're very lucky that we have the president of our synagogue, Alberto Valner, here to share some words. Since you are not all in the sanctuary to hear his words, we brought him here so that you also have the privilege of hearing the exciting things that are happening here at the synagogue. So I want to turn it over to Alberto, who will go.
Thank you, Joel. Appreciate it. Good evening and Agun Yontif. To begin with, I first want to thank a few people. First, to our staff, who are second to none. They run an increasingly complex organization that has up to 500 full-time people working for it. They're dedicated, thoughtful, hardworking people, and I thank every single one of them. Second, our clergy team, which is composed of the most compassionate and extraordinary human beings that I have ever met. In times of joy, sadness, trouble, celebration, or reflection, they are here for us. Lastly, to my past and current board members and general counsel, I offer my respect and gratitude. It is your dedication, thoughtfulness, and constructive input that sets us apart from all other boards. While we do not make a financial appeal during the high holidays, I do want to ask you to consider giving to the temple above and beyond your standard dues to help support families that can't afford full membership dues, and to help supplement our security budget shortfall. This budget has increased dramatically due to the additional security measures that we have been forced to implement as a result of events this past year in synagogues across the country, particularly in Pittsburgh and Poway. As it is clearly evident, our temple is an increasingly large, complicated, multifaceted, and sophisticated organization. Therefore, I thought I would try something new and break with the tradition of an entire overview and concentrate instead on just two of our programs, not only because of what they represent to our own community, but because of what they represent to the community at large and the entire city of LA. The two programs I chose to speak to you about tonight are located right here. Even though the majority of us do not live in the surrounding area, the roots of our community are here, in this sanctuary that was built by our ancestors 90 years ago. Today, the area around this campus is not only going massive redevelopment, but it is one of the densest and most ethnically diverse in the nation. Nearly 23% of the population is living at or below the poverty line. The rate increases significantly to 35% among the young, more than double the average in California. 61% of the population is foreign-born, and 85% speaks a language other than English at home. Looking at the world outside our walls, feeling the suffering of our neighbors who live in poverty without access to proper food, dental or vision care, counseling, and other essential services, we did not bury our heads in the sand. Our clergy and lay leaders looked at our collective past and proposed a radical solution, the Karsh Family Social Service Center. We have grown from 12 to 28 collaborators that are experts in their field and utilize an integrated model that provides a seamless path to critical social services that reduces pressure, embarrassment, and stigma. Let me give you a few examples of our recent accomplishments. We have provided dental or eye care to over 3,000 people in the last year alone, and close to 10,000 people since inception. Legal counseling is provided through 6 legal aid organizations, including Bet Tzedek. Our diaper distribution program, through Baby to Baby and the Los Angeles Regional Food Bank, disbursed over 28,000 diapers in the last year. Also in the last year, we have fed 25,000 individuals, distributing over 130,000 meals between the Eastside Food Pantry, our mobile food pantry, and the Westside People's Concern program. In the last year, the Karsh Center had approximately 1,000 volunteers, most of them who came from Wilshire Boulevard Temple community, totaling 7,000 hours of time in service. For this, I thank you. Since opening its doors, the Karsh Center has served more than 50,000 people. The statistics are impressive, but most important than them is that through Karsh, we're not just providing our members with a vehicle to volunteer and teach our kids the meaning of tzedakah, we're actually making a real difference in the lives of our neighbors and beyond. Today, on this day of days, as we ask to be written and sealed in the book of life, I ask that you consider what you can do to make the year ahead a little better for someone else by making the Karsh Center a central part of your relationship with our temple and your Judaism. Volunteer your time, whether next month as we come together to feed over 1,000 needy families at Thanksgiving meal at the Big Give, or on any given Sunday at our food pantry programs, or by supporting any one of the other amazing opportunities we're affording to people in need. You might be wondering what is the second program or facility that deserves special notice this year. As you arrive today, you might have noticed the unique, boldly leaning steel structure taking shape on the corner of Wilshire and Harvard, which will be known as the Audrey Ermas Pavilion. Designed by the world-renowned architect Rem Koolhaas, I have no doubt that this building will not only be transformative for our temple, but for the city of Los Angeles in more ways than one. Upon its completion, near the end of next year, this modern masterpiece will provide a dramatic, inspiring home for our community to come together and celebrate all of our life cycle and community events. But as with the Karsh Center, this building will not just serve us, but will also be the center for diverse social and cultural programs, conferences, and events for our greater Jewish community and the city at large. As the parent of 3 women, I would not be prouder than to recognize tonight 2 remarkable, brilliant women of our own community for the lasting effect that this building will have for us and for the city of Los Angeles. First and foremost, to Audrey Ermas, without whom this project would have never gotten off the ground. She recognized Rabbi Steve Leder's transformative vision for this campus, and more specifically, this building, and through her philanthropy, not only kickstarted this project, but became its major benefactor. Second, to Wallace Annenberg. For the first time in history, there are more Americans over 60 than under 18, and that comes with fear of isolation, cost, and conflict, which is exactly what Wallace Annenberg seeks to address in this latest philanthropic project to support a growing population of older people. She had the vision of addressing this issue years ago, and last year came to us with the idea of having a longevity center at the Audrey Ermas Pavilion. I am proud to announce that this summer, we reached an agreement whereby this remarkable Center for Purposeful Aging will occupy all of the upper floor of the Audrey Ermas Pavilion. The mission of the center will be to create a community hub to learn, connect, engage, and charge a vibrant future or path forward towards a purposeful long life, while its goals and objectives will be to reduce social isolation, improve health and financial wellness, inspire a sense of purpose, and disrupt the negative perception of aging stereotypes. Imagine a place where our students from Bowerman will teach seniors how to use an iPad or navigate the internet. Likewise, imagine seniors who will mentor our students with homework or life skills. Can you see the synergy between this new program and the Karsh Center when it comes to health and wellness, dental and vision care, just to name a few? I have no doubt that we're onto something bold and revolutionary. The boundaries are limitless. The Karsh Family Social Service Center and the Audrey Ermas Pavilion, with its Annenberg Center for Purposeful Aging, are emblematic of who we are as a people and what we're capable of as a community. Our true legacy is not to build amazing buildings like this building and sanctuary next to us, or the pavilion, but to build them as a means to bring us together, to support one another, and to care for those in need in the greater community. This is our greatest legacy. Join us in being part of it. L'Shana Tova.
We're going to go ahead and light our Yontif candles, letting in the light of our holiday. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Yom Tov.
Take a minute just to introduce yourself to the people near you so you know the names of the people with whom you're sitting before we go any further. All right, you can schmooze a little bit more later. If you notice, Cantor Lisa, Cantor Peicott, however you want to be called, Cantor Lisa, Rabbi Joel, we're wearing all white, and I see some people who have a talit on or wearing white. This is the one night of the year where you're supposed to wear a talit. Usually we wear a talit only in the morning. The reason we wear white, the reason where we wear our talit, or as Vlad is wearing his kittel is a white robe that you wear at your wedding, is because what we are about to do is we are about to prepare as if we are all going to die. And it is extremely disturbing for us to think about that. But that's what tonight is really all about. We are supposed to prepare ourselves for the idea that maybe we are not going to make it through the next year. Now, I'm not saying that to be depressing. I'm saying that because this is truly what our tradition is setting up for us right now. And I want us tonight to try very hard to get into the mind space of the vulnerability that comes with imagining that our life is potentially a lot shorter than we may imagine. The prayers of tonight, the melodies of tonight, are supposed to put you in that emotional state. And we're going to have a whole day where we're going to go through a variety of emotions, but tonight is really the most intense of those nights. And so as we go through the service, I want you to have that vulnerability available to you. We are going to try and bring it to you through the music, through the words of our tradition. We tried to create an ambiance to model that. But I really want you to try and find that space so that you can actually sit in it, not sit in it in isolation, but sit in it with the rest of us. Because then we are supposed to be able to move through that. But if we can't sit in it, we're not doing the most important work that our tradition is setting us out to do. And it's very easy for us to kind of just go through a service, but I really don't want you to see this as a service. I want you to see this as an opportunity to go deeper into yourself, more deep than you may have gone in a long time. And I want you to have that permission to do that, and I want you to know that this is a safe space to do that. So we're going to begin in a minute with the opening prayers. After a few short introductory prayers, we are going to move into Kol Nidrei, and we're going to be opening that ark, and you'll notice when I open that ark that it's an empty ark, and the Torahs are going to process down to the ark for Kol Nidrei. It is supposed to be an empty ark because, yet again, it's supposed to be like a coffin, and we are supposed to look at it and look at that emptiness and figure out for ourselves, how are we going to fill that coffin? How are we going to fill our life? How are we going to make sure that it's not our resume that is guiding us, but when there is a eulogy that is being spoken about us, that when we are truly in that coffin, that the words that are being spoken at our funeral are the words that we want to be spoken about us, that they represent who we are, not necessarily what we accomplished at work, but what we accomplished in our life. And that's what we're going to do tonight. So we're going to begin again with the return, as we were singing earlier, and I hope you'll join with me, and then we will move into Kol Nidrei. Please rise.
Return to who you are. Return to what you are. Return to where you are. Born and reborn and reborn. Return again. Return again. Return to the land of your soul. Return again. Return again. Return to the land of your soul. Return to who you are. Return to what you are. Return to where you are. Born and reborn and reborn. Or zaruat la tzadik ulishrei lev simcha. Or zaruat la tzadik ulishrei lev simcha. Or zaruat la tzadik ulishrei lev simcha. Beshiva shel mala ubeshiva shel mata al dat hamakom ve'al dat hakahal anu matirin lehitpalel im havaryanim. With one voice, assembled sages past and present declare, all may pray as one on this night of repentance. Let none be excluded from our community of prayer. Kol Nidrei ve'yesarei v'charamei ve'konamei ve'chinuyei ve'kinusei u'shevuot. Kol Nidrei ve'yesarei v'charamei ve'konamei ve'chinuyei ve'kinusei u'shevuot. Din darna u'deishtavana u'deyacharimna ve'tiyasarna al nafshatana. With one voice, God and congregation proclaim, all may pray as one on this day of return. Let all find a place in this sacred assembly. We're going to continue the top of page 17. We're going to read the first paragraph, Reflections on Kol Nidrei. In its emphasis on humility, Kol Nidrei provides a corrective to the toxic certainties of polarized discourse. What if we approached each other with the humility to recognize that our most confident convictions will always be qualified by the limits of our own knowledge and understanding? In its haunting melody and strangely legalistic language, we begin to sense the twilight of truth. Our high horses too often stumble, and our soapboxes stand on shaky ground. Kol Nidrei grants us the gift of sacred uncertainty, the chance to begin this new year with a sense of what we do not know. rather than a narrow certainty about what we do. It's what the Buddhists call a beginner's mind. What if every time I were ready to proclaim some self-evident truth, I allowed the words of Kol Nidrei to whisper in my ear, says who?
Let our speech be pure and our promises sincere. Let our spoken words and every vow and every oath be honest and well-intentioned. Let our words cause no pain, bring no harm, and never lead to shame, distrust, or fear. And if after honest effort we are unable to fulfill a promise, a vow, or an oath, may we be released from its obligation and forgiven for our failure. Let our speech be pure and our promises sincere.
Kol Nidrei ve'yasarei v'achamei ve'konamei ve'chiruyei
Baruch Hu is on page 22.
Adonai
be seated. The next prayer is about love. We spend an entire month leading up to the high holidays, the month of Elul, thinking about love because the rabbis make a connection between Ani l'dodi v'dodi li, a phrase from the Song of Songs, I am to my beloved as my beloved is to me. Some people say it at their wedding. Some people have it on rings or on their ketubah. And the first four letters of those words adds up to Elul, the month of Elul. This is a time of love, and today is that time where we are supposed to pay special attention to where are we going to find love in our lives. Not only where are we going to find it, but how are we going to give it. So we continue on page 26.
Just in a few moments, we'll recite together the words of the Shema on page 28. But this is the one time of year where the line that we normally say quietly in a whisper, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed, is said out loud. And there is a midrash, a rabbinic interpretation, that those words that we recite right after the chanting of the Shema, that Moses actually stole from the angels when he received Torah from God. And the reason why we whisper them is because during the rest of the year, we are not holy like the angels. But this one time of year, Yom Kippur, we recite the words Baruch Shem Kevod out loud. For during this holiest time of year, it is like each one of us are like angels. We wear white to show our purity. We abstain from food and material distractions, because during this evening and for the next 25 hours, it is as if we have ascended. We seek to reestablish a deep connectedness with the godliness and the holiness that's inside each one of us. And we show it outwardly by having the ability to bless God aloud. So I want you to close your eyes as we're about to recite the words of the Shema. We're going to do the Shema on one word, one breath, so that we can hear all of our voices come together. We join in the chanting of the Shema on page 30. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom alevavecha veshinantam levanecha vedibarta bam beshivtecha bevetecha uvlechtecha vaderech uvshochbecha uvekumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha vehayu letotafot beinenecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tiskeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai vihitem kadoshim le'elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
Love, only love with all your heart. Love, only love with all your soul. Listen to the wisdom inside and around you. You will remember as you're walking through the day. Make this world a better place. Children will learn, and the future will be love. Love, only love with all your heart. Love, only love with all your soul. Listen to your wisdom inside and around you. You will remember. You will remember. You will remember.
It was beautiful on Sunday morning. 35 people joined me in Malibu for a little bit of paddleboarding and prayer. It was a perfect day. I got there a little early, and I brought my coffee. I could use some coffee right now. Sat out there on the Malibu pier, saw a couple of dolphins frolicking off the pier. There were some people who had never gone paddleboarding before, who were braving this opportunity for the first time. Luckily, there were not many waves. It was very easy for us to get out there. But we circled up off the pier and had a morning service. Everyone went around, all 36 people, and shared a blessing from their life. We did Micha Mocha on the water, which you usually don't get to do, all about finding that freedom. We're moving into Micha Mocha right now. And what was wonderful to see was how helpful people were. There were a few people who fell off their boards. and needed help getting back onto their boards. There were some people who never got up on their board for the most part and sat on their knees. The hardest part of actually stand-up paddleboarding is when you try and balance when you're not moving at all. So when you are just trying to stay on the water without having any forward momentum. And I feel like that's where we are right now. The Kol Nidrei is really about, we're not really supposed to be thinking about the forward momentum. We're not even really supposed to be thinking about tomorrow morning. We're supposed to try and figure out how can we stand still and balance at the same time. It's very hard to do. We are very used to moving forward, progressing, always having forward momentum into what's next. But right now, we're just supposed to try and with those waves all around us, try and find that balance. And Micha Mocha is about how do we find freedom through balance? How can we go from the things that are going to topple us to the things that are going to allow us to stand up straight and be able to find that balance to be able to move forward. Micha Mocha is on page 40.
Mocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh o nora tehilot asef eleh nora tehilot osef eleh. Help me sing. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever had, redemption song, these songs of freedom. Oh, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Nedar ba'kodesh, oh nora tehilot, asef eleh, nora tehilot, osef eleh. Won't you help to sing? Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever had, redemption song, these songs of freedom, redemption song, these songs of freedom.
On page 43, a little poem before Hashkivenu called The Peace of Wild Things. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the middle of the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought or grief. I come into the presence of still water, and I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time, I rest in the grace of the world and am free.
Hashkivenu, page 42.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu malkeinu lechayim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu malkeinu lechayim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu malkeinu
Amidah is our standing prayer, and in a moment we are going to rise on page 46, and we're going to begin together with just the opening line, which says, Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise, and yet then the rest of our Amidah tonight is going to be silent. It's a long Amidah. It goes actually until page 80 if you were going to read the whole thing. But this is really your chance to somehow open up your lips inside. Like, how can you start to talk to God if you are going to prepare yourself for the next 25 hours, as we heard, where we are supposed to be able to articulate our needs, our wants, our fears, our hopes. This is really the time where we have our personal reflective prayer to do that. And we're going to stand up, and then you will have as long as you need. You can stay standing until you are ready to sit down when you are done with your prayer. And either you can use the words of the Siddur or your own private reflection. So we rise, page 46.
Adonai Sfatai Tiftach Adonai Sfatai Tiftach Ufi Yagid
you're still praying your Amidah, please take your time. In just a few moments, we're going to recite together the Vidui, our confessional prayer, and you'll see that as we go through all of the different sins that we've all committed, that it ends up being a lot of the small stuff, the things that we take for granted and don't even think about, and one of those is the power of our words. Ribbono Shel Olam, Master of the Universe, keep my tongue from doing harm and my lips from lies and deceit. Before those who wrong me with words, may silence be my practice. Before all human beings, let humility be my stance. The words of Elohai Netzor found on page 80. Elohai Netzor leshoni mera ושפתיים מדבר מרמה אבל אם קל אליי נפשי תדום ונפשי כעפר לכל תהיה אלוהי 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 נצור לשוני מרע ושפתיים מדבר מרמה אבל אם קל אליי נפשי תדום ונפשי כעפר לכל תהיה אלוהי 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 נצור לשוני מרע ושפתיים מדבר מרמה אבל אם קל אליי נפשי תדום ונפשי כעפר לכל תהיה אלוהי
There was a man who would wake up in the morning and he had trouble remembering where he had put his clothes the night before. And so he decided that he was going to fix this problem and decided he was going to write a note and leave it next to every piece of clothing so that he would know exactly where they were. So one night he did that, and the next morning he woke up, he looked at the note right next to his bed, he was very proud of himself, and he followed all those notes, and before he knew it, he was dressed. But then a terrifying thought came into his mind. "Where am I?" he said. "Where in the world am I?" And he looked everywhere, but he couldn't find himself. we spend most of the year lost. Especially when it comes to our interactions with other people, we get lost in thinking, oh, she understands I didn't mean that, or he knows I was just joking. We get lost in thinking that all of those things don't matter. But this is the time of year where we realize that this is the time where we are supposed to really focus very carefully. And in this next section of the service, the Vidui section, as Cantor Lisa mentioned, we're supposed to realize that all of those sins that we're about to state really come from a place of holiness. It's actually this radical idea that if you think of the things that we do wrong come from good intentions and holy intentions. For example, when you think about relationships, there are people who, in their desire to be more physically or emotionally connected to other people, sometimes sway from the relationships that really matter, and they go off course. There are people who, when they think about, when they are trying to support their family and do everything they can, that they actually end up trying to take shortcuts or not actually behaving as ethically as they should. That there are times where instead of us thinking about how we are trying to make the best difference we can make, we're comparing ourselves to other people. And now is the time where we are supposed to go to all of those sins, and we are supposed to remember that they come from holy sparks, so that when we beat our chests, we're not trying to break our hearts, we're really trying to open them up to remember that holiness that's at those decisions that weren't our best decisions. And it's really this process of opening up our hearts one more time, that's how we are going to find ourselves again and prepare for a new year. So we're going to continue with Ashamnu and all the Al-Chetz. They begin on page 82, and I ask you to please rise. together the English on page 82. Of these wrongs we are guilty. We betray, we steal, we scorn, we act perversely, we are cruel, we scheme, we are violent, we slander, we devise evil, we lie, we ridicule, we disobey, we abuse, we defy, we corrupt, we commit crimes, we are hostile, we are stubborn, we are immoral, we kill, we spoil, we go astray, we lead others astray. We continue on page 86.
שחתן לפניך בזאת ובשגגה ועל חטא שחתן לפניך בדיבור פה.
Together in English. The ways we have wronged you deliberately and by mistake, and harm we have caused in your world through the words of our mouths.
על חטא שחתנו לפניך באימוץ הלב ועל חטא שחתנו לפניך בטיפשות פה.
The ways we have wronged you by hardening our hearts, and the harm we have caused in your world through careless speech.
על חטא שחתנו לפניך בכחש ובכזב ועל חטא שחתנו לפניך ברכילות.
The ways we have wronged you through lies and deceit, and harm we have caused in your world through gossip and rumor.
שחתנו לפניך בפלילות ועל חטא שחתנו לפניך בזלזול הורים ומורים.
The ways we have wronged you by judging others unfairly, and harm we have caused in your world through disrespect to parents and teachers.
על חטא שחתנו לפניך בבידוי פה ועל חטא שחתנו לפניך בהונת רע.
The ways we have wronged you through insincere apologies, and harm we have caused in your world by mistreating a friend or neighbor.
על חטא שחתנו לפניך בחוזק יד ועל חטא שחתנו לפניך במשא ובמתן.
The ways we have wronged you through violence and abuse, and harm we have caused in your world through dishonesty in business. All these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. You may be seated.
Shema Koleinu. Hear not just my voice, but Koleinu, our voice. In a world that can overwhelm and mystify us, we are hungry for authentic, genuine, real-life connections. Each of us has a role to play. Within the darkness of our world, it is in smaller circles of relationships that we will kindle light and fight the forces of darkness. The sound of the shofar cries out to us, wake up and live. Consider the truths in our lives. Consider who you are and who you can yet be. It is not in isolation, but rather in community, that we experience true safety and security in an often terrifying world. It is together that we will imagine the possibility of a tomorrow built upon the human and spiritual foundations that will sustain our homes,
our lives, our relationships, and help us pass our faith to future generations. Shema Koleinu, hear our voice. Hear all of our voices. We do not need to face this world alone. You'll find the words of the prayer Shema Koleinu on page 98.
Avinu Malkeinu can be found on page 114. We ask you to please rise.
Avinu Malkeinu, Choneinu v'Aneinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Choneinu v'Aneinu, ki ein banu ma'asim. Avinu Malkeinu shema Koleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and merciful, hear our voice.
Avinu Malkeinu chatanu lefanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you.
Avinu Malkeinu chamol aleinu ve'al olaleinu v'tapeinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and on our families.
Avinu Malkeinu kale dever v'cherev v'rahav me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger.
Avinu Malkeinu kale kol tsar u'mastin me'aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror.
Avinu Malkeinu kotvenu b'sefer chayim tovim.
Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names in the book of lives well lived.
Avinu Malkeinu chadesh aleinu shana tova.
Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us a year of goodness.
Avinu Malkeinu male yadeinu mebirchotecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, let our hands overflow with your blessings.
Avinu Malkeinu harem keren meshichecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, let our eyes behold the dawn of redemption.
Avinu Malkeinu choneinu v'aneinu. Avinu Malkeinu choneinu v'aneinu, ki ein banu ma'asim. Aseh imanu tzedaka v'chesed. Aseh imanu tzedaka v'chesed v'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu choneinu v'aneinu. Avinu Malkeinu choneinu v'aneinu, ki ein banu ma'asim. Avinu Malkeinu na'at teshivenu reka milfanecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, we pray, do not turn us away from you with nothing.
Avinu Malkeinu kabel berachamim v'ratzon et tefilatenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, welcome our prayer with love, accept and embrace it.
Avinu Malkeinu aseh imanu leman shemecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, act toward us as befits your name.
Avinu Malkeinu aseh lemancha im lo lema'enenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, act for your sake, if not for ours.
Avinu Malkeinu en lanu melech elata.
Avinu Malkeinu, you alone are our sovereign.
Avinu Malkeinu petach sha'arei shamayim liflitenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, let the gates of heaven be open to our prayer.
Avinu Malkeinu shema koleinu chus v'rachem aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, hear our voice, treat us with tender compassion.
Avinu Malkeinu choneinu v'aneinu. Avinu Malkeinu choneinu v'aneinu, ki ein banu ma'asim. Aseh imanu tzedaka v'chesed. Bonenu vanenu ki ein banu masi.
May be seated. I'd like you to turn to page 208. I want us to look at a prayer that I've kind of been obsessed with lately. It's, I think, one of the most disturbing and yet also one of the most powerful and beautiful prayers that we have. It's the Unatana Tokef. I want us first I'm going to read it in English, the first couple pages of the prayer so you know it. Because actually, if you've been going to the main sanctuary service for these years, it doesn't actually include the full text. So I want you to know what the full text is tonight, because if you're going to be listening, whether it's in here or in the sanctuary tomorrow, and from this point forward, you should know what this prayer is saying. So it begins on page 208. Our sovereign God of pardon and forgiveness, let these words of sanctity ascend to you. Let us proclaim the power of this day, a day whose holiness awakens deepest awe and inspires highest praise of your dominion. For your throne is a throne of love. Your reign is a reign of truth. In truth, you are judge and plaintiff, counselor and witness. You inscribe and seal. You record and recount. You remember all that we have forgotten. And when you open the book of memories, it speaks for itself. For every human hand leaves its mark, an imprint like no other. And so a great shofar will cry, Tekiah, and a still small voice will be heard. Angels, in a whirl of fear and trembling, will say, behold the day of judgment, for they too are judged. In your eyes, even they are not blameless. All who come into the world pass before you like sheep before their shepherd. As a shepherd considers the flock when it passes beneath the staff, you count and consider every life. You set bounds. You decide destiny. You inscribe judgments. On Rosh Hashanah, this is written. On the fast of Yom Kippur, this is sealed. How many will pass away from this world? How many will be born into it? Who will live and who will die? Who will reach the ripeness of age? Who will be taken before their time? Who by fire and who by water? Who by war and who by beast? Who by famine and who by drought? Who by earthquake and who by plague? Who by strangling and who by stoning? Who will rest and who will wander? Who will be tranquil and who will be troubled? Who will be calm and who tormented? Who will live in poverty and who in prosperity? Who will be humbled and who exalted? We're going to stop there. Don't turn the page. This is all about our fears. When you read that list, I'll speak for myself. When I read that list on page 212, it is scary. This is the night, as I mentioned when we first opened this service, this is the night where we imagine the coffin, we imagine all of that fear. And I want us to try something tonight. I want us to try and create our own Unatana Tokef. I want us to enter into that fear. Now, I think the reason I want us to do this is twofold. Number one, we spend pretty much the entire year disregarding our fears for the most part. We squash them down. We know that there's fear out there that other people have. We either ignore it or we choose to kind of put it to our side. And for good reason. We have our own lives to live. Our fear can be so all-encompassing that we wouldn't be able to actually get through the day. And yet, if you remember, if you were with us for Rosh Hashanah, I talked about there are 4 questions that we are going to be asked when we get to heaven. Right? The first is, did you set aside time to study Torah? The second was, did you make your family your occupation? The third one was, were you ethical in your business dealings or basically in your life? And the fourth one is, did you live with hope? if we are going to live with hope, if we are going to enter this next year, which we are supposed to do tomorrow night, when Ne'ilah ends and those gates are supposed to close, we are supposed to walk out of the sanctuary, walk out of this room, wherever we are supposed to be filled with hope like no other. If we are going to get there, if you are going to be able to end Yom Kippur with that hope, the first thing you have to do is you have to articulate and be okay with all those fears. You cannot get to the pinnacle of hope if you are ignoring and disregarding all of those fears that we know we have and others have around us. So I want us to try an experiment tonight. I have no idea how this is going to go, but that's part of my fear, right? My fear is that this is going to fail miserably. But part of this holiday is also about taking risks. And that's what I want us to do together. Because as Cantor Lisa said, Koleinu, Shema Koleinu, hear our voice. If it's just our voices you're hearing, that is not doing you justice, and it's not doing this holiday justice. This has to be all of us. Because that hope is not based on whether or not the cantor who sings beautifully and moves us in ways I can't even describe. It's not going to be just her voice, just the musicians, just me yabbering on and on. This is going to be about you as well. So this is what I want us to do. I'm going to start. I asked Cantor Lisa if she will share too. And then I want to see if there are people here who are brave enough to come up here and share a fear. And I want to point something out. Number one, this is not therapy. We're not here to go in depth into your fears. This is not the night where we are supposed to solve our fears. Number two, this is not a place of judgment. The only thing and force that is supposed to be judging right now is God. So if you hear someone share a fear and you're like, I can't believe that fear, or I've never heard of that fear, that's ridiculous, I want you to work extra, extra hard to push those thoughts out. Let God be the only judge. And realize that if we are going to move as a community to a place of hope, we have to accept all the fears that exist out there, even if we don't even understand them. Because there are so many fears that we all have. And if we are not even willing to share them, how are we supposed to help one another? How? We're not going to be able to do it. So I want to share just a couple of fears that I have. Number one, a fear that I'm never going to live up to my own expectations. I set very high expectations for myself, and I lose sleep over it, and I beat myself up over it. And that's one of my fears. Number two, a fear that my children are never going to have the extended family experience that I wished I had had. My mom is here with my stepdad tonight. My parents got divorced when I was pretty young, and my mom did an incredible job of raising me, and so did my dad from afar. But I have extended cousins and extended family who my kids don't really know very well, and my fear is that the experience that they're going to have is going to be similar to mine, where I'm not so close to my cousins, and I don't want that for them. I don't want the next generation to have the same experience that I had in that way. Another fear, I came over to this synagogue from a synagogue down the street, and I fear that move has hurt some people really badly in a way that I have no idea if I can do anything about it. And that's really hard for me. Those are just a few of my fears. How about you?
So if you can't tell by now, I'm 8 months pregnant. But I had a lot of difficulty getting pregnant and staying pregnant. I had many pregnancy losses. And so this entire time period, which is supposed to be so joyful, I've just always had that thought in my mind of it's going to happen again. And so that's been a fear that's plagued me this entire 8 months. I know I'm probably not alone in this room of women. But I guess one upside is that when I talk to people about it, that they say to me, well, this is your lesson of what it's like to be a parent. That you have that constant fear in the back of your mind that something's going to happen. And I've had to challenge myself to sit in the unknown, which is a very scary place for me to sit. So that's my fear.
Is anyone brave enough to come up and share? If you're brave enough and you're willing to share, just come on over here. Just come on up, say your name and your fear. We'll just
I fear that our democracy in America is going to end.
I fear with our current political climate that our children that we talk about and we fear, we care so much about will have a very ugly world to deal with when they're my age. And
I fear of loneliness.
Anyone else?
I fear that my friend Starla is going to die of melanoma.
I'm afraid of losing someone I love and them not knowing how much I love them.
I share your fear of the unknown and having children and parents. The fear is, how do you manage as they grow up and my parents start to pass on?
I fear that social media is going to infiltrate my children's sense of themselves, and that they're not going to have the community in their neighborhood to go out and play with, but they're going to go back into their screens and try to find friends that way.
Anyone else? Okay. I know each of you is thinking of a fear right now. And it's okay if you don't want to share them. It takes a lot to be able to come up here and share, and you don't all know each other so well necessarily yet. It's hard to share our fears if we don't have that trust, if we don't feel safe, and we're living in a time where we're feeling very unsafe. And this prayer is a reminder of that. And the fears that you just heard are reminders of that. But what are we going to do about that? On the next page, on page 214 on the bottom, it's one of the things I love about this machzor. There are all little tidbits of wisdom everywhere. Little quote from Viktor Frankl. We who lived in concentration camps can remember the ones who walked through the huts comforting others, giving away their last piece of bread. They may have been few in number, but they offer sufficient proof that everything can be taken from a person but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. Right above that, it says, the translation of the prayer, you are everything that we praise you for, slow to anger, quick to forgive. You do not wish the death of sinners, but urge them to return from their ways and live. Until the day of death, you wait for them. You accept them at once if they return. Since you created us, you know our impulses. We are but flesh and blood. We are not supposed to sit in our fear. We are not supposed to sit in all of that pain. God doesn't even want that. God doesn't want us to sit in it. We are supposed to spend the next 24 hours, now that we've taken the time either out loud or you've been thinking about your fears on your own, you're supposed to spend the next day really figuring out how you are going to address those fears. And how are you going to walk out tomorrow night with hope? We need so much of that in our world. We need so much of that in our lives. So I hope you have the time and the energy and the wherewithal to look at your fears, look at our traditions way, look at your community and your family and your friends. How can you address those fears? How can we start to think about all of those things that people talked about tonight? And how can we move through that? is on page 116. Please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
May be seated. Just a couple of announcements before we conclude with Mourner's Kaddish. Tomorrow morning, you can come back into this room at 10:30 for the Yom Kippur morning service for Koleinu with Cantor Lisa. Rabbi Eshel, David Eshel, will be here, and Rabbi Bo Shapiro will be giving the sermon. I'm going to be in the main sanctuary tomorrow, so I will miss being with those of you who are in this room. And I just want to say, Cantor Lisa and I, before I even started this job this summer, we were asked to create a service and put it together, and it's been so amazing to work with you, and I think to hear her voice and to be inspired by her. So I'm going to miss you tomorrow, but thank you for all that you've created and for bringing this band together and for transporting us with your music and your voice. So thank you for that. Also, tomorrow there are a bunch of things happening in the afternoon. There's a film that's going to be shown both at 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. It's called Keep Quiet. It's about a Hungarian who is a virulent anti-Semite, and then it turns out that his grandmother was a Holocaust survivor, and his whole journey of tshuva, of repentance, and learning both about his own history and what does he do when he learns about that. So that's going to be filmed in Stalford Hall upstairs. There's a meditation room in Midas 202, also upstairs, throughout the day. There is going to be a chance to go and have your own private contemplation in the Ark in the sanctuary in the early afternoon, like 1:45, I think, or so. Factor Chapel. And then there's an Ask the Rabbi panel, myself, Rabbi Leader, and Rabbi Eshel at 2 p.m. That will be in the sanctuary, so if you want to come and stump the rabbi, I guess. I don't know. And any other announcements?
I just want to thank our musicians, Adam Yaron on piano, Sam Webster percussion, Shaul Koffler on cello, Jenny Asher on violin, Lily on 5,000 instruments that she plays, and Jason Meshes. They've been an incredible addition to our services, so thank you. And also a very special thank you to our Torah holders at the beginning of the service, Scott Edelman, Carolyn Cooperstock, and Jody Berman. Thank you very much.
We continue now with Mourner's Kaddish. It's on page 122. Before we rise, are there names of anyone in particular whom you're thinking of and you'd like to share those names tonight? Yeah. Any other names? Please stay standing once you share the name. Yeah. Way in the back. in the back? Okay, I ask everyone to please rise.
One
Stand
more?
with, oh yes.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Join together. Yidkadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah. Ve'alma divrach hirutei ve'amlich malchutei. V'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'bizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevrach le'olam olmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudesha b'richu. Le'ela u'le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata. Da'miran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul.
Put your prayer books down, put your arms around the people near you.
Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul.
Who you are.
Return to who you are. Return to what you are.
Where you are.
Return to where you are. Born and reborn and reborn. Return again. Return again. Return to the land of your soul. Return again. Return again. Return to the land of your soul.
Who you are.
Return to who you are.
What you are.
Return to what you are.
Where you are.
Return to where you are. Born and reborn and reborn. Return again. Return again. Return to the land of your soul. Return again. Return again. Return to the land of your soul.
Gemar Chatima Tova.